Hey Vesta, how are ya? Thank you for being here. Always my first one. How's everything going in your little corner of the world? Things are going better here. Hi Linda, thank you for watching. For those of you hopping on, if you're new, please let us know that and share where you're watching from. We'd all love to welcome you here on this Thursday morning. Hi Peggy. Hi Linda. Do we seriously have 3 Lindas on right now? Let me check. Linda from North Carolina and Linda McEwen. I thought I saw another Linda. I don't want to get too close to the screen there. I know some of you, when I will upload this to YouTube later, I know a lot of you have said that you watch the replay through YouTube on your big screen, and that's kind of scary, especially when I got that close to the camera. So anyway, you were all born in the 50s. Oh my goodness, the 50 girls are here. Hi Becky. So thank you everybody for jumping on for today's mystery quilt card. Actually, the mystery quilts are more about the block than the card, but it's really kind of hard to figure out how I want to throw that out there. Is it a mystery quilt card or the block? And it's really more about the block. I show you how I'm going to use it, but what I would love for you to be doing is saving all of these blocks and then having the patterns, and or at least having done them once. There's not a PDF to every single Facebook Live. However, I have a PDF for today ready to go. I'm going to have to wait a little later so that I can attach the link to the live. That way, when you download the PDF, you have a link that you can come back to the replay. But that'll be later this afternoon, but I do have a PDF ready to go. And you know, in scrapbooking, I had learned that they encouraged us, or at least the lady who was teaching us how to scrapbook, what they encouraged us to do was start current and work your way back. Because if you start like back at the beginning, so many things are going to be happening, and it just makes it's going to take you longer and longer to catch up. So they say start current and then try to catch up. So I have a PDF for today, and I will try to get caught up with the last 2 weeks. As you know, there's been a lot going on the month of June, and I want to take the time to thank everybody. To thank you for the kind words and the support that you gave me since last week when we lost Oliver. So I just want to say thank you. It's still hard. Thank you for the cards, and just for the support and the hugs. I feel them all. So I needed to say that. I didn't want to wait any longer. I didn't want you to feel that I wasn't acknowledging those hugs that you were throwing my way, but I definitely have felt them, and it's made it a lot easier. So yeah, a lot going on since the 1st of June, but ready to move forward. And I've got this project. I did this block for the New York trip that Mary and I took when Tony and Jean invited us to do a Stampin' Up! Or card making event there. And I'm going to show you later the card that we did there because I used different paper. I changed up the paper, and I can't believe how awesome it is that it's got a totally different look and feel depending on the colors that you use. So I will show that later. I'm going to flip the camera around, kind of pull myself together here, maybe grab a tissue. We'll flip the camera around. We'll get started as I'm going to show you some product that I'm using and tell you about a promotion that's going on through the end of the month. And then I want to show you the projects that we did in New York. Mary's already shown hers, and I've completed her cards. So I want to show you mine, and we'll get on with today's mystery. So let me flip the camera. And move some things around on my desk. Now, last night I was watching Amanda Bach with her Facebook Live, and she hipped us to something that she's noticed Facebook was letting us do, and that was zooming in. But you know what? I'm already pretty good, I think. Oops, I got to flip. Hold on. We got one more thing to do. There we go. We don't want you to have to be reading backwards. So I'm going to try something right now. She said if you just... Oh, there it went. Oh, see, if you move your fingers, you can... I don't think we have to be that close. Let's see if I can... There we go. It does work. You just got to find the sweet spot on your phone screen to move your fingers out. It doesn't allow you to do it just anywhere. I found that there's a sweet spot on my screen that allowed me to zoom. So that's super cool. Okay, so I hope everybody was saying good morning to each other, greeting each other as I did all of that shifting around. And we'll get started. So I want to show you some product that I'm using today. The embossing folder that I am using is this crochet embossing folder. If you love to make quilt cards, you need this embossing folder. The debossed side and the embossed side aren't that different, meaning that you can't go wrong with which side you want to use to do the quilting on your quilt cards. This is a must-have. This is the one I'm using today. The sentiment I'm using is from Layering Leaves. This is one of my favorite stamp sets. Love the fonts, everything about this stamp set I love. But I'm going to be using the Greeting Hello. And then I am going to be I used the Labeled with Love die. If you buy the die, you get 3 of them. So you can be cutting out 3 labels all at once. But it also comes with the option of a punch. Now, I have done both. They're both great. They're both great. But I love the beveled edge that you get with the die. And right now, this bundle is already 10% off, but you can get an extra 10% off through the end of the month. So I would recommend getting the dies and the stamp set. I can't find my stamp set. I think I'm going to have to order this again because I have looked high and low and I cannot find it. But I do have both the punch and the dies. So the stamp set's got to be around here because there is no reason why I would order anything separately. Not when you get a discount. So anyway, I'm going to be using those. And the Mediterranean Blooms Designer Series paper one more time. And then we will switch out to a different Designer Series paper. I have really enjoyed using a pack of paper for more, more than just like once a week and then changing it, because I'm using it a lot faster. So one more time and then we're going to switch. Hey, Jill. Oh, I know it's hot and yucky here too. I was going to go out and water my flowers this morning, but I knew that the humidity would actually destroy any curl that was in my hair. And so I did not go outside yet. Hi, Lynn. Another Linda's in the house. Yay. Hey, Diane. Thank you, everybody. I'll go back through and read comments and catch up on those after the live. So, not going to show you the card yet because it needs to be a mystery. We have to keep it a mystery. Let's see, where do I want to start? Let's start with I had mentioned yesterday, in yesterday's post, the directions were a medium. You were choosing a light and a dark and a medium value color. And for the medium value, I had used Old Olive and had you, in the instructions, I put a 3 1/4 inch square. It needs to be 3 inches, not 3 1/4. Good thing is you're not wasting a piece of cardstock. We're just gonna cut it down. See, I did it right. I cut mine right, but in the instructions, I added a 1/4 inch. So if you cut yours at 3 1/4 inch square, go ahead and trim that down to 3 inches square. Okay. Now I'm going to use my scoring blade to put the 9 patch grid, so to speak, on my base here. You can use a pencil and a ruler and draw 3 1-inch columns, turn the paper and draw those columns again. But I've already got this tool in front of me, so I might as well use it, right? So I am going to put my 3-inch square, I'm going to put it here at 1 inch, and I am going to score. I'm going to move it over to 2 inches. Now this works fine, really well, if you're using a color that you can see your score lines on. So it doesn't always fit every time you want to do this. Sometimes it's going to be better to use a pencil and a ruler, but I'll be able to see with this. So now I turned it just a 1/4 turn, and I'm going to repeat my 1 inch and my 2 inch score line. Hold on. Okay. 1 inch and 2 inch. Okay. Can you see here that I can see my grid? And it's just, oops. Come on, Julie. Get back under the light here a little bit. But I can see my grid. If you can't see your grid, then you're probably just going to want to use pencil and a ruler. But I can see that. Okay, let's set that aside. We're not done yet. We got to cut some triangles. Okay, so get that blade out of the way. I am going to start, the first block I'm going to do is actually going to be using the 2 inch square of my dark, which I'm using Cajun Craze. We need 4 triangles. So I am going to put this 2 inch square in my trimmer on point, and I've got the top and bottom point in the cutting track of my trimmer. I'll bring my cutting blade in. Just going to close that, and I'm just going to hold my paper down, and I'm going to start in the center. I don't want to bring my blade right into that point because it can mush up the corner of your cardstock. So there's one cut, giving us 2 triangles, but we need 4. So I'm going to spin my half triangle around. I'm going to put the long side up at the top, and it's going to be right against the bumpers and right at the top, and those bumpers help hold it. And I'm going to put this point back into the cutting track. Cut again, and then repeat that with the remaining half that we started with. Okay. And now I need 4 of the 1 inch. This is my dark and my light. I went with Peach Pie and Cajun Craze. There's a lot of contrast there. So I need to get 4 triangles out of this 1 inch square. So I'm going to do the exact same thing that I did with the Cajun Craze to get my 4 triangles of Peach Pie. Little smaller piece to work with, but totally doable. Okay. And there we go. So we've got our 4 triangles of our light, 4 triangles of our dark. That's all we need to get started. Well, wait a minute. Let's do one more thing. Let's bring in our card base. So I'm just going to move those out of the way. So the card base is a half sheet of basic white thick, and it's 8.5 by 5.5 and scored at 4 1/4. Okay, so I'm going to turn my card base to portrait mode. I'm going to put it in my trimmer, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this right side of my trimmer to find 1 1/4 inch. So I've got the right side of my paper on the 1 1/4 inch line. I'm going to bring my cutting blade right to, I'm going to have to stand up here. Okay. So I'm going to put it down right on the score line at 4 1/4. That was where our score line was. And I'm just going to cut straight down. So this is what you have now. This side here is 1 1/4 inch, and then this is 4 1/4 on this side. Okay, so that's what your card base looks like right now. Now we can put the trimmer away. I'm just going to move my pieces over here. And let's go ahead and let's fold and burnish our card base. Holding those down and give it a good crease. Okay, and we'll go ahead and set that aside. Bring in that 3 inch square that's got your pattern on it. We need the 1 inch square of Lemon Lolly, which was another color that you were bringing in. And we have our triangles. Now this card pattern, I have not been able, or this quilt block, I have not been able to find a technical name for it. I can tell you that it's a variation of a quilt block, but I don't know if it even has a name. So when we get done with it, we'll talk about the variation that it has derived from. And maybe you know what the name of the quilt block is, and if you would share that with us, that would be wonderful. I know I got some quilters, some hardcore quilters watching, so maybe you can help me find if it has a name for it that everybody goes by. So this 1-inch square of lemon lolly is going to go right in the center of our 9 patch. And a 9 patch is, I've got 9 squares of equal size, 1 inch, on this 3-inch piece of cardstock. It's just really easier if I just put down some glue in that center square, and that's where that lemon lolly is going to sit. So whatever you chose for your center square, go ahead and glue that down. So it looks like that. Now we're going to work with our large triangles. I am always going to be working in the upper left-hand corner. It's easier for me to put my piece down, give my block a quarter of a turn, and know that I'm always working in this upper left-hand corner instead of trying to move everything around and in different positions, okay? So I'm going to put some glue on the back of my large triangle. And I want the mountain peak to be on my score line up here at the top left. And this point here, I want it to be out to the edge. And there's a reason why I'm telling you that. We need to get more points. There are more points that are going to be meeting right here. And we need to make sure that we have room for all of our pieces. So if I make sure that my outside point is to the outside edge and my top is up there, and don't worry if they fall outside of your block a little bit. If it falls out a lot, then you might want to cut another one because maybe you were just off a smidge with your cutting. But that's okay. Think of it this way. When we're done with the quilt block, you're going to have a lot of pieces, a lot of seams that are all going to be coming together right here. And you need to allow room for it. So make sure that you're not all the way to the corner of your lemon lolly or whatever color it is that you're using. And just know that there's a method and a reason to the madness of why we're giving us, enough space. So now I'm going to go counterclockwise. And I don't know, you could go clockwise, I guess, but I go counterclockwise. And again, my triangle's going to go up here in this corner. It's a lot easier to not have to worry about and keep looking at a pattern to make sure where the placement is. Not that it's not a bad thing to keep looking at your pattern, but it just is easier. Your hand will just kind of know to put that piece up there. So we're working our way all the way around this piece of lemon lolly. So half of my triangle is sitting right on top of my center square. That kind of acts like a bumper so you can help line it up. Oh, no, you don't. I don't know if it's the humidity. I mean, our house, we've got it, you know, we got the air conditioning on. It stays a constant temperature. But up here in my craft room, it is a little warmer. This is a huge dormer. And so there's 2 registers. I had to use a pin here to get in the little nozzle on my Tombow. But it does get a little warmer up here than the downstairs because, well, because heat rises, but I'm sure the 2 registers, is, for a space this big, we probably could use another one. But in 1954, when our house was built, they didn't think about that. I'm sure. I'm sure back then that it was not, you know, today, if you were building a house, yes, there's going to be central air, but back then, building houses was a lot different. Okay, so here we've got the beginning of our mystery quilt block. Now we're going to put our little light colored triangles in. And here's what I want you to pay attention to. Hold your small triangle so that the longest side is on your right. If you're left-handed, then I guess it would be opposite. But this long edge needs to align with this long edge here in the right, on the right of it. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to create a valley up here. That's why this long side needs to meet up with this one. So just going to flip it over. Probably should have my trusty little tweezers. And it's going to sit right down inside. So you want your mountain peak of your triangle to be facing to the left, and you want the long edge to be facing to the right. It will line up, and it will create this little valley here. That's how you know that you've got it right. There is another way that this triangle will set in, and I found that out at the event in Waverly. It just totally just created a new quilt block. It wasn't wrong. It was just a different quilt block. But and their quilt blocks were beautiful. But this quilt block, I want you to create a little valley. Okay, so now I'm going to turn my piece, and again, this is going to go in the exact same space that I was working at before. So I know it's going to go right here. I've got my point to the left, my straight edge to the right, and we're just going to keep working around. So does anyone, by what it looks, this is the quilt block, but can you, what traditional quilt block do you think this variation derived from? Do I have any guesses? What does it kind of look like to you? If you weren't looking at triangles, just the shape alone, what does it remind you of? Let's see, do we have any takers on what they think it reminds them of? Emily says a windmill or pinwheel. Maria, card trick. Anybody else? Maria, you are correct. This is, if you looked at this, if you looked at these pieces as squares, you would see how they would tuck behind. This pattern derived from the card trick pattern. So if there is another name for this, using triangles instead of squares, I would love to know, because I really have no clue. I searched and searched and looked on websites that had like 200 quilt blocks, and I could not find this particular quilt block. But I've seen it. So, you know, I just could not get a name to go with it. So, there's our quilt block. Okay, that is your mystery quilt block. Now, let's set that aside. And let's do the other quilt block, which, okay, you know what? We're just going to keep going with the card, because I can show you what the quilt block is going to look like when you reverse the light and the dark pieces, to show you just how different it looks. Let's just keep going, because I don't have it scored or cut, but I can show you just by changing these two color placements around how different the block is going to look. So I am going to find my my embossing folder. Like I said, this embossing folder, you really cannot go wrong with whether you're going to emboss by putting it right side up in your folder, or if you want to deboss, putting it upside down in your folder. What I'm trying to do is I'm lining up this little flower here. I lined up that little flower right in the center of my quilt block. So I'm going to run this through real quick. My station is just off to the side of my craft table. I am very heavy-handed when it comes to using machines and stamping and other things. And if I were to do that on this table right here, I have a feeling the way I've got some things stacked up around me, it would come tumbling down. So we'll just do it off camera. But this is the pattern that's left from that embossing folder. Notice how my center image is raised up. It's raised up on the cardstock. If we turned it over to the deboss side, see how the pattern is recessed into the cardstock. Both are beautiful. You cannot go wrong with this folder. Now we're going to adhere our quilt block onto the 3 1/4 inch piece of Early Espresso. That's what I'm using. I don't know what color you used for your layer to frame your quilt block. We will see, I'm sure, when you share a picture of your card with the group, Quilt Cards and More, private group, great community. Lots of sharing in our group. Lots of sharing. So if you're not a member yet, you can find a link to request to join from the Chirpy page. Just a few questions to answer so that I know that you're in the group for the right reasons. And once you're in, you can find PDFs in the file section. And you can just get totally inspired by the projects that others are sharing. Okay, so there is our quilt block. Let's set that aside. Let's bring in our card base. And this is kind of like a fun fold thing. Basic thick white cardstock is thick. If you want to put a card layer in here, you can. I'm not going to today. But if you were to use, let's say you're not using basic thick white, then I would cut a 4 by 5 1/4 piece of either white or whatever color you want to put on the inside of your card. I would go ahead and I would glue that down to the inside of your card base. I'm just going to show you that I did it, but because the basic white is thick enough, I'm not actually going to use this piece, but I just wanted to show you that this is where you would put it in now in the process, okay? I'm going to take that back. And what I want to do is I want to glue this little flap. I want to glue it down here. So I'm going to put some glue on the back of it, and I'm going to fold it down. And just make sure that my corners. So here we just kind of have more like a side flap or side opening. I'm going to crease that again. And now I'm going to bring in my designer series paper. I have a 1 inch by 4 inch strip, and this Early Espresso is actually from the 6 by 6 neutral designer series paper pack. And this 1/2 inch by 4 inch, I'm just going to bring this over and kind of mimic that. There might be another piece on top that because it continues, but I just didn't want to throw this piece away. So it's going to go over to this side. So when you open it, you'll have that. So go ahead and glue those pieces down. And I want to make sure I want my stripes to match. So I'm just looking at the pattern there. That there. And then put this one, I think this one goes here. Really isn't that much of a difference, but still took a look at it. And you have room here to stamp a sentiment, do your writing. For the front of our card, I've got a 4 inch square piece of designer series paper. This is from Mediterranean Blooms, and I wanted to use some pieces that aren't, you know, doesn't have an orange or a lemon on it. Although I still brought in some fussy cutted images because I want to use them up. I don't want them just laying on my desk. So I'm going to embellish with one of my fussy cut images, but you don't have to. And so that's going to go there. Absolutely love this paper. I'm looking for a nice little even border of white on all 4 sides. So it's going to open like that. Now, I had some, like I said, some fussy cut images of fruit still hanging around. I don't need this whole piece. And I don't care if it comes over here a little bit, but I am going to flip this over. I'm just going to cut this off. I think I want to keep my stem there. that out of the way. I can save this for another piece. But I am just going to embellish this a little bit by gluing this right on top of my strip here. And it's okay that when I close the card that it covers that up a little bit. But this just kind of gives it a little, you know, a little something something. It helps me use up what's on my desk. I'm just gonna put it all the way to the edge there. Okay. So here I brought in a little bit of lemon to it, but I really wanted to show that there's other papers to use that don't have the fruit on them. Okay, so now what I want to do is I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of our quilt block, and we're going to pop this up. But before I do, I need to consider where the placement of my sentiment label is going to be. So don't put this on just yet. You can get your dimensionals on there, but don't take the backings off yet. I'm going to bring in, I think this is the one that was punched. There's no beveled edge. This one has a beveled edge. This is the one I want to use. So I'm going to stamp hello. And here's what I'm looking for. I want my label. My label is going to tuck underneath my quilt block. And I want to know exactly like where do I want to put it. And I need to know this also because I need to know, I can see that I need to put my sentiment to the far right. That way this gets tucked under. I don't want to stamp over here because then I can't tuck it under. I'd be hiding part of the word hello. So I can see that I'm going to keep my stamping to this side. I just love, love, love this stamp set. And sorry, I have to take this probably out of camera in order to make sure that I'm not super wonky. Not too bad. Missing a little ink right there, but I'm not going to fret about that because I can go in with my Stampin' Write marker in Early Espresso and I'll be able to fix that. So I'm going to put this right about there. So I want glue just to this side. And really I don't need to put, I only need to put enough on there to secure it. Make sure that I'm straight. Okay, so here our sentiment hangs over our flap. I love this look where it's out of its range, but it brings your eye over to this other piece. And now we can take the backings off and we can put our quilt block on there. And once our card is finished, I'm going to show you what the block looks like when we reverse those colors. Okay, so I think that looks good. There's our quilt block with our background. But I want to show you another technique for those of you who may not know it. Coloring embellishments with your blends. Great way to customize an embellishment. You know, you're looking for that certain color and oh my gosh, Stampin' Up! Doesn't have doesn't have it in the color that I need. Well, if you've got the Stampin' Blends, which are alcohol based, you can take a clear embellishment, a white embellishment. You can change the color of any embellishment that will show up. I am going to use the side of my tip so that I try to keep my point as in shape as I can. I'm just going to color one of these large embellishments, Cajun Craze, and then I'm gonna do two big ones and a small one. And let's do this little one. But you can customize your embellishments. You can make them whatever color that you want them to be. Going to put one of the larger ones right in the center of my lemon lolly and see where there's a nice little hole right here that was made by the impression of the embossing folder. I'm going to put one of those gems right in the center of there. And then I'm going to just put a large one here, and I'm just going to put this other small one right there. Okay, that way I'm bringing in, oh, I lost one, bringing in more of the Cajun Craze. Oops, it doesn't want to stick. I think I lost it sticky. But it just seems like it's still missing something there in the center. And when I had cut the kits for the project in Waverly, I used this little cutout. It's from the Simply Zinnias, and it just, I think it just like kind of sets the center. It does cover up some of my embossing, but I think it just lends that little extra something, makes this quilt block look more of like it's a flower. So I am just going to tack this down with some tiny bits of the glue. And I think it just frames that embellishment really nice. The other thing I need to do is sign my work. So I've got my button here. I'm going to put this on the back. I don't know what that mark is. So I've signed my quilt card, and that is the fun fold. They did two cards in Waverly. One was just a portrait regular card, and then we did this little fun fold. So that's the fun fold that we did in Waverly. Let's get some of this stuff out of the way. Now what I want to show you is this card, but with my two colors switched around, and then I'm going to show you how different it looks in the papers that I used when we went to New York. So here's the card when I switched around the peach pie and the Cajun Craze colors. Look how different the block looks just by changing the position of those two colors. I think it's a great example on just how color can, changing the placement of color, how it can change the look of your card, of your quilt block, whatever you're doing in your design. And Holly likes the lighter colors better. So you've got something that's very bold, and then you've got something that is softer. Maybe the bolder pattern, these would look great on a masculine card. It just depends, you know, on what you're going for. But this will work for any, you know, any DSP. You're just looking for the lights and darks to pull out of there, and then you can just see how different it is. Okay. Oh, Luann, thank you. I'm very shy with my hands. I don't know. I'm very shy about my hands. You know, I always want to have nails, but you know what? I love to get my fingers in the dirt in my flower beds, and I use my hands as a tool. I would constantly be breaking nails. I love nails on other people, and I love them. I've had them before on myself, but I'm too handsy. You know, my hands are my tools. I'm going to pick at stuff. I'm going to dig. And I don't know. I don't think I could keep them. I wouldn't do long nails. I'd keep them fairly short. But again, my hands are my tools, and so they're hard to keep nice sometimes. But thank you for that compliment. Now I won't be so insecure about my hands. So thank you for the comments on this card. Now let me show you what it looks like when the kits were done using the zinnia paper. So look how different. And then this other card, it's just a different layout. And when I give you the PDF, it'll have the layout for each card. But look how different the colors even look when you do it like this. I mean, they are wow cards. Just, you know, I just can't wait to see what everybody has done and what colors you chose, because this would look beautiful with a light blue and a dark blue. This is such a versatile quilt block. And it just amazes me how if you change those two colors around as far as where you place them, the different look that you can get. The bolder pattern can go with a bolder designer series paper behind it. This softer pattern looks really good with a softer DSP, something that's not quite as bold. So it can work either way. So here's something I want to do before I show you the projects from Waverly. I'm going to give away 2 cards for those who comment during the live. Okay, so if you would like to win a card, type in the word hello, and then I am going to give it 24 hours for those who catch replay, and 24 hours if anyone comments in that time hello, then I will give 2 more cards away. This way I can give to those who are watching now, and I can give to someone who isn't able to catch the lives and need to catch replay. Okay? So the hellos will stop for the live when the live ends, and then we'll see how many hellos we get in the next 24 hours, and we'll give them a chance to win a couple of cards since I've made extras while I was testing out my colors. Okay, so let me show you the projects from Waverly. So of course we've got the 2 cards that I did. Tony did this 3D box. It holds the Lance crackers, but I ate all my crackers. There's no way those peanut butter crackers were going to last in my craft room. But you untie the bow. And so Tony taught us how to make this box. and she embellished it and decorated it with the dragonflies. So that was the project, the 3D project that Tony shared. And Jean had the cutest card here. Jean outdid herself. She had cupcake tins for every table, and they were just overflowing with these 1-inch squares, so that you had options. She loves options like I love options. And so we got to pick out our squares, and she had dogs and cats. This stamp set is an online exclusive. And then she die cut all the lettering to say fur babies are a blessing. So this is the cute card that Jean showed us how to make. And then Mary's project, we did not get our heads together and say we're both going to use zinnia paper. That was a coincidence. But the card that Mary did, or the two cards, was a 6x6 one-sheet wonder. So we got both of these two cards out of one piece of 6x6. She showed us how to cut it. And what was neat is when you've got a piece of designer series paper where you like both sides, by flipping the DSP over, now you're bringing in two different patterns. And Mary did show this in a Facebook Live of hers last week. So I encourage you to go over Stampin' Piece with Mary Nabe and watch that video, that Facebook Live, if you didn't happen to catch it, because she'll walk you through how she designed her two cards. So these were the projects that we did. And I got a couple of gifts from some of the ladies that were there. So Melody Hahn, she gave us these cute little beaded, you stick them in your flower pots. So you would stick these in your flower pots to give interest to your plants. And then look at this one. When you stick this one in, it's a caterpillar. So these are really, really charming, very cute. So those will go in some of my planners that I have. And then Beth and Pat Arnold gave us these little buckets of lavender products. And actually, Beth knows how to make from scratch different things from, make your lip balm and different things like that. So we got this cute little bucket of some pampering items. So it was a lot of fun. Tony was a great hostess. She let us stay at her house for 2 days. Jean and Tony both have wonderful families who we got to meet, and it was just a great time to spend like 2.5 days or 2 days with them. And so wanted to show you that, talk about how great that little event was. And now back to what we did today. If you would please share what your cards look like over in the group, Quilt Cards and More. We want to be inspired by you, and we want to share something that we hope will inspire you. So please give that a look. Go to that group. And I think that's about it, everybody. Thank you for spending your Thursday morning with me. I hope you liked the quilt block. Look for the PDF to be uploaded to the files in the group a little later this afternoon. Facebook has to process this live, and then I'll have a link that I can put in the PDF, and then I will post it. Okay? So have a very blessed day. Thank you so much for, again, thank you for thinking of us, and Oliver. I do appreciate all those hugs that you sent our way. And I will see you next Thursday. Wait, what's today? No, I will be back live the Saturday night, the 29th. What is today? Oh my goodness. Yes, there will be another. What am I thinking? There will be another Facebook Live on Thursday next week. I'm already trying to run the month of June out. So, yeah. So I will see you next Thursday, but I'm always available by messenger, and I try to be quite active over in the group. So there's always a way to get a hold of me. Have a blessed day, everyone, and stay cool.